Hi everyone, today I will show you how to create a WhatsApp clone using a sync WebSocket consumer in Django channel. Here's the list that I will be covering today. What is Django channel, ASGI, consumers, routing, how to set up routings, channel layers, and after the presentation I'm going to demo how we can create a WhatsApp clone using these following items. What is Django channel? Is a project that takes Django and extends its ability beyond HTTP. Means it can also work with different type of protocols such as WebSockets, chat protocols, IoT protocols, and more. So previously in Django, we can only work on request and response cycle, but now we can also work on long-living requests or asynchronous requests, and that is by using Django channel on top of ASGI handler. ASGI stands for Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface, better than WSGI. ASGI is an improved version of WSGI that can handle both synchronous and asynchronous requests. It can also support multiple protocols. Unlike WSGI, there is a limit and can only support HTTP protocol. Consumers contain series of functions to be called when an event happens. You can think of it like our traditional Django views. Here are some of the generic consumers that we can use. WebSocket consumer. This handles WebSocket protocol in synchronous way. Async WebSocket consumer. This handles WebSocket protocol in a synchronous way. Async HTTP consumer handled HTTP protocol in a synchronous way, and one example is when you want to use server-side event to push data to client. Routing. Channels provide routing classes that allow you to combine and stack your consumers. There are three types. Protocol type router. This should be at the top level of your ASGI application stack and the main entry in your routing file. This is the one wherein you define the routing type of your protocols, and inside of each type of protocols it contains URL router. URL router. This will be inside the protocol type router, similar with our traditional Django URL and the one that is responsible of defining the consumer to call. Channel name router, intended for use with the worker and background tasks. Here's the example of how to set up routing. So channel expect us to define the single root file in our root project. Like in this example, we have a routing.py. We define the protocol type router and the URL router. Channel also expect us to define the path of the routing.py using the ASGI underscore application. Channel layers. Channel layers is a way to allow us to broadcast message across or outside our application. Here's the example how channel layers configure in Django settings. Now I'm going to show you how to create a WhatsApp clone using the following items that I shared. I already created the project. I named it the Django channel tutorial. I already created the chat app. You can see here in the chat app, I already have this CSS. This is the one that is the styling, the look and feel of the UI that mimic the WhatsApp look and feel. I already have the models that PY. You can see I created a chat group. This will be the group that we will be using to add the user as the participants. So it's similar with the WhatsApp group. So here you can have mute notifications. Icon is the image that you see easily identify the group created. I just and then date modified. I also have this Django admin, so later I can easily create a group since I only have the UI for chat room and I don't have a UI for creating a chat group. So I also have this URL that we'll be using for the chat room. So it will be based on the group ID. And unauthorized, I also have this unauthorized. So if they are not, the user is not added as the participants of that group, so they cannot view the channel. This one is just extra, so I'm actually not using this. If you can see on the root folder, I already have this base HTML, but we will not have much code here. So majority of the code will be on the chat app. If you can see on the room.html on the chat app, here you can see all the HTML related to the room. So the sidebar, get notified is here, the header here, room sidebar group. So this will display the list of the groups that your user is added. And this will be the header message chat header, similar with WhatsApp message chat, and some icons that is similar with WhatsApp. And here in the script, we are using the Websocket to subscribe to this host. But this will not work unless we prepare the consumer. Later, we will create that consumer. Let's presume it's already there. Once it's able to connect, you will be able to subscribe to this built-in on message. So every message passing from the server, this will be triggered, and we will be parse it and broadcast it to all that is consuming this WebSocket host room. So also we also capture the on close. So if there's an error, we also console this. So this is just for us for additional debugging. This one I also add this. This is the protocol type router. This is how you set up the routing for the channel. So later we need to add the type of the protocol that we wanted to enable is the WebSocket, and then inside that we have to define the URL router also. And inside the URL router we will define the consumer. I already defined this ASGI underscore application, so this will be pointing to the routing application that we will be configured later. Also configure the channel layers, because we will be trying to broadcast the message not only within the same tab or the same application that we wanted to also broadcast it outside the application. And make sure also you have installed the channel redis. Then the host will be just using the basic one, something like this, for the sake of demo only. Make sure you also register these channels once you install the channels package and the chat application that you created. I think this is okay. I think that's all is the one that I have predefined. Let's try to run server. Let's try to stop this and run server. You'll notice the once you run server, it's in this line you can see starting ASGI slash channels development server. So now even if we haven't configured the routings, it's already running the ASGI channel. Okay, you can see here, this is the UI. I already predefined all the look and feel, the styling, CSS, and the icon, and this listing of group. So currently I'm logging as a Johnny 2020, and I have this following group that is assigned to me. If you go, only admin can see all this. Okay, this is the chat groups. So you can see this is the list of the groups. Let's check this Johnny user. So you can see I have added the three groups under Johnny 2020 user. So you will be able to see also three groups, and it means that this user will be subscribed to this group. So whatever message that coming in from this group, this user will also see. But let's try to type something. You see, it will not do anything. So it will not reflect because currently we already pointing this whatever is the one that should be displayed here will be coming from the WebSocket from the Django channel. But now we haven't created a consumer, so we need to create a consumer that will handle the event coming from the client. Okay, let's go back to the code. No, first we need to define this routing. First we need to define the WebSocket here. Type WebSocket. This is the type of the protocol that we need. Then auth. Okay, we need to import this first. Channels. Auth. Import tag. Then within this routing, also the okay, need also to import the URL router, and here you need to let's use this middleware stack. Okay, this auth middleware stack will populate the connection scope with reference to the authentication user. So in the consumer we will be able to use this self.scope session of the user. So as I mentioned in the presentation, the URL router is just the same, comparable to the Django URL. So maybe we separate the URL pattern of this in, we just put on the chat. Let's create, go to the chat. Let's create a routing here. Theme.py from Django.url import the path from the for consumers. So this one, assuming we are presume we already have, but we will be doing this later. WebSocket URL patterns. Let's close this. Let's close this first. We path WS chat then the variable name, room name, and followed by any word. Then let's this one, and then this is the URL pattern that will match, try to match and try to define the consumer to call, name it consumer. So as you can see, this is just there's a similarity with the traditional Django URL, right? So here you will have a list of URL patterns, and it will try to match in sequence. It try to match first this one, and then it will call the views this one. So same thing with here. Okay, now we go back to the root routing.py. Here we need to import that import route chat that routing. Here we just need to call this thing that Websocket pattern. So that's it. We already defined the routing for the Django channel. So this will serve the WebSocket, and we'll try to call this WebSocket pattern, and this will call the consumer. So we will create a consumer file inside the chat. This is the one that will have the list of functions called events that handle that WebSocket. Let's import this JSON. I think we will be needing this and this generic consumers, that generic WebSocket. Let's create a class, name it consumer. Just inherit this WebSocket consumer. So here we create a variable name, room name, and room group name, and we have to async depth connect. Using the async WebSocket consumer, you always have to define with async one, otherwise it will not really work. Connect, it will have a runtime. And then self room name, here we will define the room name. We will be getting it from the scope variable. Trying to connect, there will be a scope variable list. This will be contained of the list of variables that we can use, like including the URL route variables. Let's say this one. URLs, and then the room name. Let's close this one. Then let's also create this room group name. Let's add something like that room name, and we need to join to the group. Join the group. Let's async so channel layer. So we are going directly to use the channel layer. Channel layer that group add name. So the channel name. This channel name is, I think, is built-in. It will, every time this will be consumed, it will create a unique channel name. But I think for this case, we are just using the group name to broadcast our message. So this will join the group. You also need to await self connect. Final decision whether you really want to accept the connection. Accept the WebSocket connection. So if you do not define this self.accept, it will just reject the connection. So maybe here you can also check if the user is authorized, you can accept the connection, and if not, then you can reject. So sync dep disconnect self. So if have some this network issue, we can automatically leave the group itself. Name and self channel name. Layer that group. Again, let's just define the room to discard group name self channel name. One is for the receiving message. Receive self text data equals to none bytes. JSON that loads text data, or you can I just name it as text data JSON. You can name it as event also. Okay, let's name it as event message event message. Let's try to send that message to the group room group. Await, send to the group using channel layer group send, and then the group name room group name, and then the message is required to have a type, and then the event. This is the event that it will be called. One is group send chat message, and we also want to pass the user in the group event user. So previously I mentioned that we are using this auth middleware stack. So that is, we define it here. We are going to be able to consume that user here. I want to pass it back in the username. Then I want it to be in proper case, and then the message itself, chat message. So this is the message that I want to broadcast. Sync chat message self event. Here we are going to get the event, and each event have this message and username. Then send back this message. Await self send text data JSON dump. So this will be trigger, and this will be sent back to the front end. We will be consumed by this on message, and here we will broadcast. Okay, let's try to run the server. Okay, run server. Oops, there is invalid syntax, line 16. Let's go to line 16. Okay, I think it should be await. Okay, now it's reload. Line 45 also have an error. Define. Okay, let's try to run server. Okay, let's go to the URL. Let's try to refresh the page. Let's try to send message. Hi there. Oops, there's an error. Why? It says there's no route found path. Let's try to check this out. Maybe we name it chat consumer, for since it's under the chat consumer. I think there is excess on this one. Okay, this is the correction. I think there will be some will not be identified. This is matter. This we need to remove this. Okay, let's try to run server, see if it fixed the problem. Run server. Okay, let's try to go to the browser. Okay, let's try to refresh the page. Okay, let's try to send message. Hi, I'm sending message. See, I already sending message, and this is sending using the channel layer, and this one will also update them. Let's try to check what is my current user. So currently I'm logging as a Johnny 2020, and I'm participating with these three groups. So those currently I send message, so those user that is participated on this group will also receive this message. Let's try to duplicate this. So I haven't stored to any storage all the message. So once you load it, it will still clear. Let me try to send hi, hi, hi. See another, go back to another time. So this will also see the message. Okay, let's try to log in with two different user so you can really see how they exchange message. So currently this one is login as Johnny 20, and this one is login as J1234. So J1234 is only participated with this Django group in Angular. Let's try to send message to J. Hi J, what's up? You can see J also received the message coming from the Johnny. So you immediately see this in the left side, means it's received, and here is in the right side, it means in send. Right side and the color is green. Now let's see whether how Johnny. Okay, so you see it's also received. Cool. Yeah, it's really cool. So this one I'm using Django channel to send message and the help of Redis also.